And how much money would I need to be able to start such a business?
Great question. I think there are many different ways to start a medical spa in New York. The law is pretty flexible about who can own a medical practice in terms of, it could be a doctor, but it could also be a nurse practitioner. And the way you buy product for a medical spa is you buy it from the vendors who extend you credit, like 60-day terms, 90-day terms, whatever. And so because of the flexibility both in the law and in the business terms, many people can start a medical spa with, let's say, $25,000 or $50,000. But of course, if you're talking about buying a building or renting a big space and doing $1 million renovation, it's a totally different thing. But I, as someone who's been involved in opening a lot of medical spas, definitely don't recommend that approach.
Okay, so let's say I'm just starting out and I don't have that much funds, and I find a space, but they want me to sign like a 3-year lease. What would you suggest that I do? Do you suggest that I sublease at first, or just go ahead and just get this big humongous lease and not be sure if my business is going to make it or not? Like, what would you suggest I do in that situation?
I've definitely seen that situation before where it's your first time opening a business in New York and you get a lease and it's for 3 years or 5 years and it's personally guaranteed. And 99% of landlords, especially after the pandemic, are going to want you to personally guarantee your lease. So it's a very risky proposition to say you're going to commit to a space for 5 years, especially if it's personally guaranteed. What I would suggest is looking at one of the medical co-working spaces, which are about $3,000 a month right now for a room, which is still very expensive. Yeah. Or looking on Craigslist or another platform, and you could usually find a room for about $1,500 on a 6-month term or even a 3-month term. And we've negotiated those kind of lease and sublease agreements for people, but I would definitely say as your first space, unless you come with a lot of funding and a lot of certainty and you've done this before, do not sign a 5-year lease, because who knows what's going to happen in 5 years. If you're going to be very successful, you're going to grow out of that space.
Right.
And if you're not going to be successful, you're going to wish that you didn't have the lease.
Gotcha. And what are some of the things that you think I should put in a sublease or lease that I wouldn't normally think of putting in?
Sure. So one thing that you definitely want to put into a lease for your medical spa is the ability to sublease. And the ability to sublease to other professionals, not necessarily medical spa. And so what we've had before is clients will have leases, but their lease is very inflexible. And so they can't sublease their room. So let's say the business is not going as well, or they want to sublease a room to like a massage therapist or a teeth whitening person or an acupuncturist, some kind of complimentary service. The landlord says no. It's not, or the landlord says, okay, you have to pay me an extra $1,000 a month to sublease. So make sure you have the ability to sublease your lease, and make sure in your lease it says you can do lots of different procedures, not just Botox and filler.